There we go.
I realized when I got here this morning that I had forgotten to bring my paper with my Drash on it.
No.
But thankfully, I took a picture of it with my phone sometime during the week, and so I'm
wow.
going to be squinting at my little screen to figure out what I was
sweetie.
supposed to say. All right. So I ended up doing most of my Drash based on the Haftorah this week. The Haftorah is from Micah. As far as we know, Micah lived between the 8th and 7th centuries BC, so in the days of Isaiah, Ahaz, Jotham, Hezekiah. If we look at the verses just before the Haftorah, kind of back up to get a running start, we see one of the prophecies regarding Yeshua. It says, "But you, Bethlehem near Ephrat, so small among the clans of Yehudah, out of you will come forth to me the future ruler of Israel, whose origins are far in the past, back in ancient times." That is such a cool way to describe Yeshua, the future ruler of Israel, whose origins are far in the past. Like, very true. Chapter 5 in Micah details how Yaakov will be rescued and placed in safety. It says the remnant of Yaakov will be like dew or showers on the grass, which doesn't wait for a man or expect anything from mortals. Have you ever seen dew, like, wait for people or like, be dependent on somebody or care what people... No, dew doesn't. It's like they're in their own little world, neither dependent in servitude or in being served. It goes on to say, when that day comes, Adonai will cut off the horses and chariots and cities and strongholds. He'll cut off the images and standing stones and sacred poles. All the things that Israel trusted in, other than God, will be gone. He will destroy Israel's enemies and wreak vengeance on those who would not listen. And I was reading that. At first, when I was reading it, it starts talking about how he's cutting off the horses and the chariots and the cities and the strongholds. And I'm like, wait, we switched here. He must be talking about the enemies. And then I was like, oh no, he's cutting out all these things that Israel had trusted in. And so what I wanted to ask first for everybody is, are there things in our lives other than Adonai that we trust in? You think about the purity of Israel's relationship when they weren't trusting in other things. And then you think about how that relationship just started disintegrating and falling apart when they started having all these other things they were trusting in. So just to look at your own life and be like, are there things that I'm trusting in, like Israel was, other than Adonai? Then in Micah chapter 6, Adonai has a case against his people. They had not been walking in justice or righteousness or communion with their God. Adonai reminds them how he brought them up from the land of Egypt. Have we been brought out of a metaphorical Egypt? He redeemed them from a life of slavery. Have we been redeemed from slavery to sin? He sent Moshe, Aharon, and Miriam to lead them. Have we not only been given those great leaders, but even more in the years since then? And do we not have our master Yeshua to lead us now? Then Adonai says, my people, just remember what Balak, the king of Moab, had planned, what Balaam, the son of Beor, answered him, and what happened between Shittim and Gilgal, so that you will understand the saving deeds of Adonai. So I was like, wait a minute. What was it that was so special about that story about Balaam that he's using it as an example so that we could understand the saving deeds of Adonai? Balak had planned to curse Israel, but the words that Adonai gave Balaam to say were blessings, abundant blessings, and prophecies for the future. He countered the curses that Balak had planned and even went far beyond them in the levels of blessing that he gave. When you think about what Yeshua has done for us, he's done that too. We were destined to be cursed, and he not only undid that, but then opened up an abundant life far beyond even countering that curse. So what do we do in response to this? So keep reading in Micah 6. Should we give extra gifts to make him happy, even though we continue in our errors? Should we pay a steep penance to cover the crimes we are committing so that he will overlook them? Should we be like an absent son, too busy with his own life to spend time with his father, but sending a nice gesture to make up for it? No. In Micah 6:8, he says, human being, you have already been told what is good and what Adonai demands of you, no more than to act justly, love grace, and walk in purity with your God. And he's told us through his word what it means to act justly. He's shown us. He's, with his own character and what he's done, he's shown us what grace and mercy looks like. And just like Israel, when they weren't trusting in other things other than him, he's shown us what it's like to walk in purity with your God. And so I know I sing this every time we get around to Micah 6:8, but tunes help me remember the verse, and it's a good verse to remember. So Micah 6:8, he has shown thee, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of thee? But to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. Shabbat shalom.